Welcome to All in Adams, the official podcast of Adams County government, where we're all in for our residents, our employees, and our community. So whether you live here, work here, or you just want to know more about what makes Adams County a great place to be, thanks for tuning in. We're all in, Adams.
Welcome back to another episode of the All in Adams County podcast. My name is Carson Forsman. I'm with Adams County, and I'm joined with Allison. Allison, thanks so much for being here for this episode. I'm super excited to get to know you a little bit more. Just introduce yourself. Well, what do you do for Adams County? And who are you?
Yeah, totally. My name's Allison Blakeney. I'm the Homelessness Resolution Supervisor for Adams County. So I work in the Poverty Reduction Unit, and we do homelessness outreach work.
Wow, that's amazing work, of course, and we appreciate all that you do for the county. How long have you been with the county, and how's that going so far?
I have been here a little over a year, so a year and 3 months, and it's going great, actually. I can't believe that it's been over a year.
What do you enjoy most about the work that you do?
Oh, wow. There's a lot that I enjoy. I mean, I love working with people who are out on the streets experiencing homelessness. So, I mean, I just love it so much. So that's probably the main thing that I enjoy. I really like my boss, Lindsay Earl. She is
Big shout out to Lindsay.
shout out to Lindsay.
We work with her too on projects. She's awesome.
She is. She's like really just like very action oriented, and it's really nice to be a supervisee of somebody who works like that and to feel like we're actually making an impact to the residents that we serve. So that's been wonderful. And then just working with my supervisees, the navigators, who are really, really amazing.
And how many navigators are underneath you or that work with you on your team? I guess, how big is your team?
Yeah, so the team, there's the Poverty Reduction Unit, which is the whole team that does 3 sort of different types of work. But within that, there's the homelessness team. And so within that, there's the street outreach folks. So that is myself and then the 3 navigators, Jessica Kalkman, Odie Anaya, and Jorge Scholes.
Awesome. And I want to unpack a little bit about what you do and how maybe your past experiences have shaped the way that you support our residents who are experiencing different things. Talk to me a little bit about your story. I want to start there and kind of what got you to this point. Maybe take me back. Let's learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind sharing. What have you kind of gone through in your past?
Yeah, for sure. So I am sober from alcohol, or I'm sober from everything. But the
Congratulations.
Thank you. The thing I got sober from was alcohol. It'll be 10 years in November this year.
Wow, that's an amazing milestone.
Yeah. So hopefully I make it. I'm sure that it'll be okay. But so I started drinking pretty alcoholically early on, 14, 15 years old. And it kind of escalated, and I ended up getting sober at 25 after like a lot of different situations. There's a lot of, stories that I could go into, but we don't need to do that. So I got sober at 25, and that was really when I started to realize that I had any mental health things happening outside of, substance use. I didn't know that I had anxiety. I didn't know any of that because I was just kind of living in a chaos for a long time, So when I got sober, I started realizing that I have anxiety. And honestly, now that I look back at it retroactively, I did get diagnosed with anxiety way before I got sober, and also OCD. And so those are like the primary mental health diagnoses that I work with every day, along with substance use.
How do you use those experiences? Maybe give me some experiences that you've gone through with folks who are dealing with similar things. How do you use that? I don't want to say to your advantage, right? But like, how do you use that?
To relate
to
people? Yeah, it's been learning how to do that has actually been a journey, because I think that some of what I will say is that for me, my experience with lived experience and watching other people is that we tend to sort of fall on one side of the extreme when it comes to boundaries with the people that we serve. We can be really loose and overly compassionate, or really tight and rigid with it. And I tend to be overly compassionate. So what originally when I started working at a shelter in Denver, I would what I would consider now is like overshare. So for example, if there was somebody at the shelter who was struggling with substance use, I would overshare like, "Hey, I got sober. Here was my experience." And it wasn't actually useful
Hmm,
to share to that degree.
interesting.
Yeah, because I think that
Everybody's experience is different. Is that how you would say it, or?
yeah, everybody's experience is different. Different substances are different. There's different mental health associated with it, comorbidities. Like, there's just a lot of complications. But at the end of the day, is it actually helping the person that we're serving or not? Right. And that's the biggest question that I ask myself. Am I connecting to actually support them in where they are trying to go? Or am I not? And so sometimes disclosing will be to that end, and then sometimes it won't be to the end. And with this person in particular, it wasn't to that end. She ended up just because of what she was going through, her mental health, her substance use. It was more that she kind of used it to justify her behavior in a way.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So since then I've kind of learned the way that I will use my lived experience to work with residents is to try to understand where they might be coming from, understand where their behaviors might be coming from. So, from a trauma informed perspective, right? Knowing that most people are like whatever behavior we see on the surface, there's a lot more happening underneath, right? But then still holding those boundaries. So while I can understand where this is coming from, I also know that there's a certain expectation for behavior, but I'm going to express those in advance. So somebody is aware of what the expectations are. I'm going to offer some compassion, some benefit of the doubt, because I do know what it's like to some degree, right?
Mhm.
And then there's going to be a point where I have to hold that accountability and those boundaries. And for me, that's where my learning has been because I've been overly compassionate and trying to overly connect with.
Can you share in Adams County, right, what you're seeing and who you're interacting with for our residents maybe listening to this and how you're helping them in your day-to-day duties
You mean like with the outreach team
with the outreach
specifically?
team? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a variety of different we provide a variety of different kinds of support. So it will be support from the emergency services, meaning like life-saving services. So those would be like tents, sleeping bags, warm weather items, food, water, things that are really imperative that people have to withstand the weather, right? Temperature like that, as well as our severe weather activation program that Almost Home runs. So those are some things that we provide, but then we also do provide navigation towards housing, towards vital documents. So a lot of times folks won't have their IDs, their birth certificates, their social security, they'll get stolen, and then it's really difficult to get one if you don't have the others. So there's a lot of systems navigation in that regard, and then benefits as well. So we will support residents with that. We do a lot of encampment projects. So that's a collaboration with the county as well from different departments. Um, and just really logging the encampments, working with the residents at the encampments to try to get them connected to services. Again, most people want to be in housing. It's very rare that
That's
people
what I was going to
don't.
ask you. Yeah, what do
Yeah.
what do they say, or what's I guess everybody's different, right? What
Mhm.
they're going through and why they maybe can't get into housing,
Mhm.
but in general, what are they telling you? They're appreciative of what you are doing, right? And
Mhm.
what you're providing to them to get that help, I would assume.
Yeah. Most people wanna be in housing. It's tricky because there's just a lot of difficulty navigating systems. It can be really difficult to get like I said, you need to get an ID in order to get a
Yeah.
Social Security card. How are you gonna get your birth certificate? What if you've never had an ID in the state of Colorado? That's gonna be a much more difficult thing to do. And so there's all of these systems. To get a job, you need an address. But if you're homeless, you might not have an address, right? So what address are you going to use? So there's all these little logistical
Yeah,
things that I think people don't think about,
yeah.
you
That's
know?
great to point out because people don't.
No. Yeah. So it's more that there are just so many systems to navigate to get to the first step that it can be difficult. And then there's also the reality that um folks might have a community, and so to just immediately move away from that community can be really difficult as well.
Yeah, that's great points that, a lot of people probably don't think about and what you all interact with on a day-to-day basis. What's your current project or what are you all working on right now? Just curious, like this month in June, right? What are you all working on? Is it different each day for you?
Yeah, so right now we're working on an encampment resolution
Which those can
project.
be tricky, right? Or
In what
tell,
way?
maybe I'm assuming, right? But an encampment resolution, maybe tell the audience what that is. What does that mean?
Yeah, so this specific project, this is something that's happening nationally. Different cities are doing this with a lot of success rates. So what it does is it takes the principles of emergency management and applies it to homelessness. So rather than providing a little amount of services over a long period of time, which is historically how it's happened, it is taking a lot of resources, services up front at an encampment, getting folks into housing as quickly as possible, and then providing financial and case management support on the back end. So through rapid rehousing, which is really going to be 6 months to a year of financial support and case management, behavioral health support. And then that will start to taper off as folks find their own stability. So we are working on our second encampment right now in Adams County doing that.
Your second one. So how did the first
Mhm.
one go? Can you share that maybe how that
Yeah.
went?
It's an entirely different way of working. So it's a little bit like you're heading up a hill on a roller coaster and you're going up and you're going up and you know that it's going to drop soon and then it drops and it is just go 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 go. So it is such a different way of working, and then I think too, as navigators and outreach workers, we're used to getting sort of stops in systems where we have to wait then for weeks for something to happen, right? Or right now it's really hard to get an appointment for an ID within like 2 months. Like they're booking out through July and August at the DMV, you know? So it's really about trying to, instead of just accepting that barrier, figuring out, okay, how do we build a workaround? What else can we do? So a real example, let's say we have a resident who doesn't have an ID
Mhm.
and we can't get a DMV appointment in time for this encampment to close, which is going to close in 4 to 6 weeks. So from the time we get out there, we have 4 to 6 weeks to get everybody document ready and into housing. And so let's say we know for a fact that this person's not going to get an ID by that time. We're going to go to the apartment and say, hey, will you take a DMV appointment with another form of
Yeah,
identification through
sure.
this homelessness management information system that we use with a birth certificate? Will you take these documents knowing that we are going to keep working with this person and we will get you the ID when you have it, right? So it's really about not accepting the barriers and finding the workarounds to get people into housing, knowing that we will keep working with them and the landlords, right? To finish those steps that we're taking.
A lot of problem solving, it
A lot of
sounds like.
problem solving. Yeah. Mhm.
What do you love about your job? And then maybe share an experience that maybe you've had with some folks, those maybe success stories.
Oh
I would
my
assume.
God, I have the
Yeah.
best
That's
one.
probably what you love, right? That keeps you coming
Mhm.
back is helping people, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I have one, and it also highlights our relationship with the Rangers because that has been like a very extraordinary and unique relationship. We work in partnership with them, and they are out there, on the trails, and they know a lot of these residents that we're working with as well. And so one of them, he had been homeless for 10 years on the streets. One of the Rangers found him mid heart attack and saved his life. And then they posted him, he had to move like a while later. They posted him, he had to move. The ranger reached out to us and said, can you outreach to this person? We ended up going to outreach to him. And we were able to get him into one of our programs, but we needed to ask them to, can you wait a few for to clean up his site so we can get him in. We're trying to get him in by this day. So we did that, and gosh, that was last summer. Fast forward, there's a permanent supportive housing project called Renewal Village here that is a collaboration with the Colorado Coalition for Um, it's down in Denver, and then some other the city, I think, and Adams County. And anyway, so it's a permanent supportive housing site called Renewal Village, and we were able to get him a referral, and he just moved into housing there.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so he was chronically homeless 10 years, was having heart attacks. In this process of getting him into housing, he's had a heart attack already. He's had to go to the hospital. Like, it's really been huge. And now he's in there, and he's so happy to be in there. And all he cares about is watching his shows. And that is it. He's like, I don't want to talk to anybody, but just let me watch these shows. And that's it.
Wow. Those stories, yeah, like I said, probably keep you. That's what keeps you going and helping people. And you and your team do amazing work. I know we're
Mhm.
running out a little bit of time here,
Mhm.
but anything else you want to share, maybe that I missed? Yeah.
Um, Anything else that I want to share about the work that we do? I think that what I will say is I really got into this work because, well, firstly, I love working at shelters. That's what got me into this work. And I also love working with people who are experiencing homelessness. But more than that, it's because I love when people feel like they belong, when they feel like they have some dignity and they can feel that reflected back to them. And then for like, it just feels to me like a really big honor to be able to um, hear people's stories, anybody really, right? Housed or unhoused.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just love working with individuals and their individual story. But I will say that pairing that with this team specifically, this homelessness team, that Lindsay runs, to be able to see like tangible examples and really be able to address homelessness in the way that we are, has been so rewarding, because this work can be really exhausting and it can feel like a cycle, like an endless cycle that, you're never actually seeing any like true results.
Especially with all the barriers, right? And the problem
Yeah.
solving that you already mentioned.
And at the root of the problem, right? Where it's like, wow, it's still folks, more people are experiencing homelessness, right? Like, it feels like there's still not enough housing. There's still people on the streets. But I really feel like in Adams County, we have been really using both evidence and also people's lived experience to guide our programs in a way that I feel like we are actually making an impact. And so that is also very exciting to be a part of.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. I could chat with you for I feel like hours, but we
Yeah.
only have so much time.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you on the podcast again. But seriously, thank you so much. And I know our county, our commissioners, and our residents appreciate the work that you and your team do. So keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
That's a wrap for this episode of All in Adams. Thank you for joining us as we explore the people, programs, and the policies that make Adams County a great place to live, work, and thrive. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Have a topic you'd like us to cover? Let us know. We're all in for bringing you the stories that matter most. Until next time, take care of each other and stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, and X. We're all in Adams, and we're all in for you.